Yes, welcome to our Focus and Reflect webinar. This is a webinar. Basically, in a nutshell, we're going over some essential steps that you should take between now and your year 11 exam season to make sure you feel confident, prepared, stress-free. But yeah, thanks for taking the time out of your, busy days to be here in the evening. Yes, it means a lot. But yeah, why don't we introduce ourselves? Who are we? So I am Merlin. I'm a learning content creator at GCSEPod, and my job is essentially to make sure that the student experience is amazing, making sure it's the best that it can be. And yeah, one of those jobs is running webinars and sharing useful tips with all of you. And I'm joined here by Katie.
I'm Katie. I am a customer relationship manager with GCSEPod, and that means that I work with schools all over the world, really. I work with international schools in England to get the most out of GCSEPod, but I also work alongside Merlin with student engagement as well. So we both run these webinars together.
We're like the Ant and Dec of GCSEPod.
We are the Ant and Dec of GCSEPod.
So just a quick, just going over quickly what we're going to go through today. We're going through 4 key areas that you should work on from now until your end of school exams, to make sure that you feel prepared, that you feel ready, that you're not going to be cramming or panicking. So first one, setting goals. It's no use having a big task, like one big task of, oh, my aim is to finish school. It's about taking that big end goal and working backwards from it, breaking it down into manageable and achievable goals that you can track along the way. Then we're going to go through overhauling your revision and study approach into a more organized method. It's about getting organized. So we're going to go over task prioritization, time management, and essentially collating your own library of personal resources. Yeah.
Then we're going to look into revision techniques. Has what you've done before really been the most effective way to learn for you? Maybe trying out some new things on GCSEPod. And we'll go through what GCSEPod has to offer to help you level up your study approach and consolidate your learning. So all of the little things that will help you on the site. And then finally, because it's just as important as work, we will look at looking after yourself and your mental health. So this recent exam season, maybe you've just finished your end of year exams, or maybe you're in the middle of your end of year exams. It may have been a stressful one for you. So we're going to go through some mindfulness and self-care techniques you can practice over the summer and take into September with you, because we all know that GCSE year just looms ahead and can cause a bit of stress. So we'll look at taking care of yourself for that year.
Definitely. We don't want to fully focus just on, okay, you've got to work, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. It's all about looking after yourselves as well at the end of the day. And we're all
number one.
Look after numero uno. That's it.
Numero uno.
So there we go. So first up, goal setting and reflecting. After all, this webinar is called Focus and Reflect. So before we can look forward to year 11, your end of year exams, we need to look back on how your year 10 went. So how this last year went and how your exam season that you may have been in the middle of still, or you've just finished, how that went. So if you're wanting to, improve and do better, but you just keep doing what you've always done before, then nothing's going to change, is it? You've got to reflect on what you've done, because that's just as important as setting those goals moving forward. Okay. So leveling up your study approach, that is all about deciphering what works and what doesn't for you. So what is it that helps you perform better? What is it that slows you down? And with that in mind, I've got a question for all of you. So use the chat function. It's there for you. I've got a question. What is one thing that you've struggled with this academic year? Okay, so that can be as general or as specific as you want it to be. Could it be a particular subject you struggled with? Something more well-being orientated, like, oh, I didn't eat enough healthy food, I didn't sleep enough, I was too tired during my exams, or something like I didn't revise enough, or I revised too much. I did too much. I burnt myself out. Let us know in the chat. So we've already had some come in. Zoe said management of stress. Zaki says getting good grades in English and maths. So English and maths may have been a subject you struggled with. And not revising enough.
Revising for GCSE mock and didn't revise enough.
Right, okay. Yeah. Chemistry and no sleep. Jude, that sounds like a combination and a half, that.
Getting distracted during revising. Yeah, I feel that. I feel you.
Yeah.
Lack of motivation. I feel you. I didn't revise enough. Yeah. Well, times when we feel that we didn't meet the mark or do as well as we wanted to, are all opportunities to sit down and work out what you need to improve on or how you can improve on. And now that when you identified what you struggle with, you can mirror that setback, what's known as a setback, into a goal, because everyone knows that, you know, failure is a part of success. So those things that you feel that you haven't done well, or maybe you didn't do enough of, they are a part of building these blocks towards your success next year. So for example, if your struggle was that you were easily distracted, as a few of you have said you were when studying, and you tended to procrastinate, which would lead to like maybe not feeling like you revised enough, and you ended up cramming. Your goal could be that you set up a work only zone, so free of distraction, creative habit of putting your phone in another room completely whenever you do study. Now a loophole with this is Apple Watches. So if you have an Apple Watch, because this happens to me when I study, because I study for a degree part-time, so if I leave my Apple Watch on and I have notifications come through, be real notifications, TikTok notifications, my text messages, I will stop and look at my phone. So if you put your Apple Watch on do not disturb, that can be a way around that. So let us know in the comments what your mirrored goal would be. So if you're distracted, you want to put your phone in another room. If you're procrastinating, you want to break down your studying. And whether you've got your results yet or not, you know, if you're in the middle of exams, as said, or you're finished, you can still reflect on how your exam season has been. So how your end of year exams have been. So just like what we've been doing with the single goal. So if you write down everything that you feel you want to improve on, then you can set up mirrored goals for that as well. So that might be a really, really good place to start. But Merlin's going to talk us through, you know, goals and the steps that we need to take.
Yeah, definitely. We've got Kyle who's already flipped their struggle into a goal, plan revision better and try to be a bit more organized. And hopefully we're going to go through just that as well. So keep tuning.
We're going to give you some hacks, GCSEPod hacks.
GCSEPod hacks from the Anton deck of GCSEPod.
Yeah.
So now that you've looked back on how you did, because you've got to be evaluative, when you look back on your exam season and you think more about your future goals, that's when you can look forward, okay? Specifically to your end of year exams next year, okay? So let's say that where you are now is at the bottom of a set of stairs, okay? And then your year 11 exams are right at the top, okay? You can see them all the way up there. Now, this may sound like an obvious question, but when you're at the bottom of the stairs and your exams are at the top, how do we get there? Can we jump straight from the bottom to the top? We can't, can we? Well, I don't know.
Unless you have like superhuman strength or you're a frog.
You're into parkour in a big way, I don't know.
Yeah.
But usually we've got to take it step by step, haven't we? It's really easy to think about your exams, as I've said before, as this big, solid, scary task, but you've got to chip it down. You've got to break it down into smaller, more doable tasks and developing that structure and routine. And then it's going to feel a lot more achievable. And it does take practice. It's not going to be easy. But then I think some of the most rewarding things in the world, they're not going to be easy, they're going to be challenging. But if you work on it by doing something as simple as making a big picture plan and then zooming in on your specific tasks daily, you're going to feel less overwhelmed. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, after completing that activity on the last slide that we've just done, I know that each and every one of you can do that. Okay. You took a big, scary task. You took it step by step. I love this animation I've done on the slideshow. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I was waiting for the footsteps. I was waiting for the little footsteps to come on.
Mm-hmm. But you all literally just did that. You looked back at your exam season and you zoomed into something that you knew you were struggling on. You took that big scary concept and you zoomed in on a specific area. Okay, that's a really important skill that's not only going to get you organized for your final year at school, but it's going to stop you from feeling overwhelmed. You're not thinking of everything all at once. You know, you're taking it day by day, a step at a time, and that's the way it should be. And now we're going to talk about, you know, taking it step by step, day by day, and doing it in an organized way, okay? Because if you're doing it day by day, you still need that structure. You need to be organized. And when it comes to getting organized, you've got to think about these three things, okay? Know your workload, managing your time, and prioritizing your studies, okay? So first up, what do I mean by knowing your workload? This means knowing exactly what your exams may cover and ensuring that you're prepared for that, okay? You want to build up a library of revision materials, which we will go through how you can use GCSEPod to do that in a minute. But you basically want to build up your own library of revision materials that will put you in good stead for your upcoming exams. And one bit of advice I'm going to say now, before you all finish and run outside and throw your notes in the air and throw them in a fire. I don't know what you do to make yourself feel better, but keep.
Have you been watching too much Grease, Merlin? I think.
maybe. Yeah, you know me too well. So don't throw away any of your notes that you've made in year 10, because there's going to be content that you've covered in year 10 that will be relevant to your year 11 exams. And I think that that's always a good first tip. In terms of knowing your workload, a good piece of advice would be exam specifications, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You can create a content checklist by using your subject's exam specification.
And we got this advice from the top of the tops, didn't we, about the exam specifications?
We make sure that all our content's like really good quality, it's exactly what you need for learning, because we talk to subject experts and this is what they told us, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So exam specifications is essentially a content checklist, right? So you can find that document by Googling your exam board, your subject, and the word specification, okay? So AQA biology, for example. Now that specification, it's going to be vital for you, as I've said, it covers every single bit of content that you could be examined on. And also, we've made it even easier for you. The pods, the way that our pods are structured on our website, that they match your specification structure. So if you study AQA biology, the structure on our website on GCSEPod is going to match the structure in the specification for biology AQA. Okay, so that's going to make it even easier for you to build that extensive library of knowledge and to identify those gaps. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So then next up, we're going to talk about managing your time, making the most of your time.
Before we dive into that, Zaki's just said in the chat that once their tests are over, they rip up their notes to celebrate. And they said, I guess I should stop. So anybody having a massive panic right now, it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, because if you're not, you're going to start putting these habits into practice of managing your time and knowing your workload. And we're going to teach you some really good tools during this webinar. So don't panic too much. But yeah, maybe keep those notes for next year when you come into your GCSE year. So we're going to talk about managing your time now. So when we talk about managing your time, it's about trying to create a healthy habit of regular study. So everyone, I think, has had a problem with procrastination in the past. I know that I did when I was in school. You're cramming in the last week or even day before the exam rather than stretching that learning over a longer period and making it easier for you, basically, with little and often. So it's about using the time you have between now and your exams in the most effective way. So just to make things easier, run smoothly. So doing little and often and breaking down your studying into lovely little digestible chunks. So what comes hand in hand with this, so with, like a little handshake, is prioritizing your time and studies. So it means getting stuck in and tackling your most challenging topics and titles first, and that means the subjects you don't necessarily like. And as challenging as it may feel, if you spend all your time just covering the topics you're already confident in and leave your weaker subjects behind, you'll always have those gaps in your library of knowledge. So when I was in school, I always stopped. I would not touch maths. I did not like maths, but I loved English, and I would spend all my time studying English because I liked it and I was good at it. But maths, no. And then at the end, it was just running to catch up. So you need to put those. You could even break it down to something nice and then something. We'll go through that anyway. I'm getting ahead of myself. But GCSEPod has a built-in function that will actually help you cover all all three of these things. So that's the playlist tool. I'm going to pop on the site now and we're going to go through the playlist. So I'm going to do that thing that people do when they're in like meetings in the offices. I'm going to share my screen.
Share my screen here.
Can you see it now?
Hang on. Yep.
Okay, cool, perfect. So I am logged in at the moment as a student who is Luna Lovegood. Obviously, this is not a real student. This is my fake skill. And what you see first is your subjects here and our lovely webinar at the top, which you would have signed up to. But then underneath, we've got our subjects. So playlists are a great way to organize your revision and prioritize your learning. And it's so in a way that you are making the most of your time. So I'm going to show you quickly how to create a playlist first. So I'm going to find a subject. I am going to go into English literature, and I'm still not going to touch maths. So I'm going to pop into English literature. And you have this breakdown of your topics here. So say if I wanted to go through drama, because we all love a bit of drama, don't we? So we'll pop into the drams. And I'm going to go into Romeo and Juliet. Let's do Romeo and Juliet, because this is what I would have done for my GCSEs, which are not unis there in Ireland. This is what I would have done. So once we go into a topic, you've got a playlist over on the right hand side. Now this looks like a lot, but let's say I am planning to study and I want to improve my study of the acts 1 to 5. This is a really good thing that you can do, okay? So over here to the right, we've got these 3 dots. And in these 3 dots, we've got the options to download, share pod, or add to playlist. So if we press add to playlist, you already see that I've got some playlists created. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to focus on, I've already done the acts in, I've done it in Macbeth, not Romeo and Juliet. There we go. Or in J, acts 1 to 5. And what I think would be really useful if you're managing your time is putting in, let's say, what day is it today? It's Wednesday. Thursday morning study. Okay. So I've popped that in there. And what I do once I'm happy with the title is I press this little pink. And then I'll just go add to playlist, add it in again because it then exists. Add to playlist, add it in again. I think I've just added that in again. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, that's just my brain. Right.
That's 5 p.m. brain, that 5 p.m. brain.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I've created that playlist there. Okay. And for me to go back then, if I've done my stuff on GCSEPod, I've logged off, I've come back on, I'll go to the home section here. And then I'll scroll down and what I've got is my playlists here and I'll go into view all. Now, if you were to use this alongside, say, a timetable, you can really slot this in and make it as easy as possible. So I'm going to go into my Thursday study. I'll click in here. And what I've got is I've got my playlist over this side of what I want to focus on. I've got a few bits that I will go through later, like check and challenge, where you can consolidate what you've learned, and then learning activities, which Merlin will show us as well, which is something you can use alongside the pods. So that's great. I've got that there, and that's how you can organize that. Another thing I would say is, you might have used this in school, is red, amber, green playlists. So another great technique using the playlist feature is putting it into red, amber, green. This is helping you prioritize. So like I said, the subjects you don't like, the topics you're finding difficult, things you really need to focus on, they're all going to go into your red. Okay. Amber, things you're not so sure on, you know that you still need to work on, you might not be getting the best results from them, say in topic tests, so they'll go into your amber. Now your green are things you like doing. So let's say English for me, obviously it's not going to be the same for everyone. English for me, subjects that I like, find interesting, subjects that I find easy. And what you can do throughout your studying is you can move them across. So I've tackled something I really don't like in my red playlist, and it feels so good for me to move that over to my green playlist then. So using that red, amber, green feature, you can see that I've got some here. So I've got a green playlist, amber playlist, red playlist, and then I've got my other bits here. So putting a time on it, putting what you want to focus on, and putting red, amber, green is really going to help organize your time and prioritize your workload. But we're going to look at some more revision techniques with Merlin. If you want to take the screen away, Merlin, from me.
I'm going to share my screen. Yeah,
I'm going to check if we have any questions as well, because sometimes I find, Merlin, you're on it.
I'm on it like a carb on it, me.
Yeah, you're on it.
So yeah, we've gone over knowing your workload there and the playlist function as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go over learning activities. So if you think about that staircase from the previous slide, okay, so you've got a lot of steps to go from now until you're going to be, in that full-on study mode. but you've got the time now to work out which study and revision techniques work best for you. You might already know, okay, this is the best way that I learn, that I retain information. But if you're still having a little bit of, struggle, and you just want to work out the most effective way, you can use our learning activities. Okay, so I'm going to show you where they are on the site. So if I was to I'm going to go to my favorite subject. I mean, mine was English too, so I'll go to history.
I liked history as well.
Yeah, I loved history. I did medieval medicine. That was my favorite, but I'm just going to go to any old thing.
That just sounds like I obviously didn't cover topics like that because I'm from Ireland, and medieval medicine just sounds incredible. That sounds so
It was really
interesting.
good. You know what? I can't even kid myself. I'm gonna go to English as well. I don't even care. I'm unapologetic. So I'm gonna go to where is it? I really liked an inspector calls. So I'm gonna go to an inspector calls. So you can see here, you can go through the pods, we'll go on a check and challenge in a minute, but if you're wanting to level up your learning, you can look at the learning activities here. Okay, now these are essentially a bunch of activities which are going to encourage you to think about your content, take what you've learned from the pods, for example, and then create something new in a way that's going to help you engage, understand, and reinforce that learning. Okay, so let me look, for example, we've got 100 words. Can you summarize a pod in 100 words? Decide which words are integral, keywords, key quotes, key symbols, no matter what subject it is. Okay, so what that's doing is you're taking the information that you already know, that you've heard from a pod, and you're changing it slightly, you're adapting it, because that's going to make you remember it. You're looking at that work and you're readdressing it in a new way. Okay. Another example, let's have a look.
It's giving you a level, isn't it? Because I find if you
Yeah.
are just watching the pods, yes, you can watch the same pod 5 times, but you're passively, I find if you're watching the same thing over and over again, you're going to passively watch it. Whereas if you're using one of these activities, it's really going to elevate. And it's full of revision techniques as well, Merlin, isn't it? So you might even find something that really works for you.
Yeah, if you've been, because like I said before, if you're doing it the same way and expecting different results, then you're not going to get different results, So like you might have been revising in the same way for ages, but how would you know that that isn't the most effective way for you to learn? It's all personal. It's all individual. So that hang on, where was I? The
pod to poster.
The 100 words. You can see here, this person has used that and just done 3 main points about Romeo and Juliet, for example. Okay, so they did 3 main points. They condensed it into 3 points. Okay, which I thought was, you're basically condensing it down into something more digestible. As you said, Katie, pod to poster.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself there, folks.
No, like this is, I say that this is my favorite one because if you're a bit more creative as well, it gives you a chance to use that side of your brain. So this is about summarizing a pod and displaying that information on an A4 poster using keywords, images, whatever works best for you. So here is an example of an actual GCSEPod user who has listened to a pod on Mrs. Burling from an inspector calls and has used color coordinated the quotes and things like that. So what she's like, what her view on other people is, her view on other things. So they've categorized their knowledge and their thinking. But you can see that is one pod to poster, but here's a whole other one. Okay.
I love that one. I love this one.
So good, isn't it?
So good.
I love
my
that.
notes were definitely not that aesthetically pleasing.
I had chicken scratchings of handwriting. No one could understand my handwriting. I could not have made this, but you can see here, this is just 2 different approaches of the same task. Okay. So anyone can have a go at this. It's about taking that information and creating something new. And with this, you could put it on your wall. You'll walk past it every day. You'll passively take it in as well. Okay. So these activities, they're not just they're going to help you cement that knowledge in your mind because you're thinking about it in a new way. And I would say, as I've said before, if you've done the revision one sort of way before, try a completely different approach, one that you don't think might work for you. So if you're used to doing mind maps, but you don't know if they're the most effective revision method, try one which, I don't know, encourages you to present the information to someone else, like a Dragon's Den style pitch of this information, And there's loads of different things you can check here. So we'll always go back to learning activities as one of the most useful parts, just to elevate your learning.
Definitely.
And something else that is really good at helping you consolidate that learning is check and challenge, and Katie's just going to go through that now.
Check and challenge, yeah. So check and challenge is essentially like a clever little quiz, which tells you when you've got a question wrong, but also why it's wrong and how you can get it right the next time. So it's like you're having a tutor with you the entire time that you're completing this. They're just questions to try and see where you are. They can also identify your knowledge gaps. They're great. They're really good at consolidating your learning, and you can track your progress over time as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Well, I can't see it.
I know, yeah, I'm just going slower than my voice. So we're on our homepage again. Now, check and challenge is not on every subject and on every topic, okay? But it is on a lot. But to identify what subjects and topics it's on, we're on our homepage here again. We've got an all content drop down here, and you can just simply select check. And that sounded very advertising, didn't it? You can simply select check and challenge, and it will show you the different subjects the check and challenge is on. So if I want to go and do a check and challenge, let's say I'm going to do biology, and I won't do too well. So I'm going to go to biology, and I'm going to go into, you can see the little diamonds here indicating where check and challenge is available. So I'm going to go to cell biology and cell structure. Now, at the bottom, we've got this massive banner, which is the check and challenge banner, and we have different topics here that we can select from. So I'm just going to continue with my cell structure one, because this, and I'm getting the question wrong, this is where I was the last time, okay? So you can see at the top, I've got 1 to 12 questions. I've got the question here. I've got 4 possible answers, and I have an option to get a hint. So these are all different forms of support for you in completing these questions, okay? So select the correct statement about the human body. Human body does not contain animal cells. Only part of the human body is made is I don't think it's that one.
I can hear your cogs turning.
I know, yeah. I just don't want to pick something really, really silly. But I suppose no silly answer. There's no answer that's a silly answer, or no question that's a silly question. So I've got that right. So you see that I've got diamonds on the first go. I just think this answer is really funny. I don't know why.
I am one large cell.
I am just one large cell. And then we also have, we'll get something wrong. So imagine I got that right. So you'll see that you've got a feedback statement there telling you why that is wrong. Now, obviously, this is really good. Maybe after you've done your playlist, maybe you've done your playlist and you've used a student learning activity alongside one of the playlists in order to elevate your learning. You feel like you really understand the topic now, and you think, I'm going to go and do a check and challenge now and check how I feel. So this is really good to use as a finisher, or you could do it at the start as well, whatever way you want to use this, because you could, Bernadette, I hear you, maths in general, me too. You could use this to identify where you don't feel confident as well, and then use your playlists around that. It's all about what works for you. But the great thing about check and challenge as well is it will tell you where you are, where you're at. Now, these results are not going to be the best in my progress chart. So if we go to my all right. So we've got 7th of October, 33%. And then I've got over time, me improving and then not improving and then improving. So you'll see that I need to work on my cell structure. I need to go back and create playlists and do some student learning activities in order to really bring up my knowledge in this topic. So use this. It is a really good tool to use to track where you're at. And you'll find them at the end of the topics that they're in, but also, just as a little show, in your playlists, you should actually have the check and challenge at the end of your playlist as well, and the learning activities at the top. So everything in one place, rid your distractions, and you are on the path to success. If you pop these into your everyday routines as a habit, check and challenge here, playlist there, student learning activity to elevate your learning, I think that you are going to smash it. Very passionate about check and challenge, as you can tell. So passionate. I'm going to go back to Merlin now, who's going to go through the lovely part of staying mindful.
That's it.
But thinking back to our study staircase before we do, you can't get straight to the top in of the flight in one step. So you've got to do this bit by bit, as I said. So check and challenges are designed to be reset, redone, and improved on, so you can solidify the knowledge, as I said. So keep track of yourself over time, grow your confidence.
Exactly.
And yes, Lisa, teachers can see students' progress with check and challenge as well. There's lots of tools that you can see results there too.
Definitely. And you said, like, creating a good habit. You were talking about creating good habits and creating routines. What's so important to have as part of that routine, maybe like you're studying and you're, I don't know, retrieval practice and reading this and listening to this, but you also need to have like breaks. Like, you know, I don't think you might not have expected us to say, like, yes, we encourage you to have breaks and to have times where you're not studying, because we don't want you to be studying every minute of every day, because that's not realistic. It's not productive and it's not going to work. Okay. I think we've all tried to cram and we've ended up burnt out or something like that.
Falls out your brain. Falls out your brain.
Exactly. And I won't get into the science of it, but when we're stressed and when we're putting on too much, your brain releases a chemical which makes you unable to retain any information. So
is it cortisol?
Yeah, it is. You know it. You remember the last webinar? Nice one.
I do. I do remember. I do.
So yeah, I realize that we have thrown a lot of information in your direction this evening. Someone did ask earlier, we do send you the recorded webinar out, but it might feel a little overwhelming, and that feeling might return again during high pressure moments throughout the next academic year. So I know I felt that pressure when I was in your shoes, even though year 11 for me was 11 years ago. I tried to think about it. But I know what it's like. But we do have loads of resources that are totally free for you, readily available on our student resources page, which we will send out in our post webinar email. But they look a little bit like this. These are posters on dealing with exam stress, preventing that panic. These can be really good to have on your wall, even put up in your classroom or things like that. They're setting you some barriers for yourself. Make sure you are looking after yourself, and you know, you can see here, exercise, eating right, talking when you're feeling stressed to other people.
Yeah.
So important. But as well as these, we've also got a whole series of wellbeing and mindfulness pods. Okay. These again are totally free, and they're broken down into mind, body, and environment. So if you're someone who's really physically active and you know that that's good for you, but you know, your workspace at home might not be the best it can be, we've still got some content for you there. So I'm going to show you where they are on the site. If we get back to the homepage here.
So just before we show this, if everybody could put in the chat what you do to relax, because I would really love to know what you do in your breaks. Do you go for a walk? Do you watch a little bit of Netflix? We would just love for you to take a moment and think about what you do to relax and how to embed that into your time as well. So into those routines with your check and challenges and study, because it's just as crochet. I love that.
What do you do, Katie? I want to know what you do. What do you do to...
I like watching TV, and I like to cuddle my cat, and I like to read.
That sounds good.
Nintendo Switch, I play Animal Crossing. I like that.
Yes.
What about you?
I like to, this like makes me sound like such an old man, but I like to sit in the garden, let the cats out, and listen to music. That's what I do. But at some points in the day, you just escape from it all, remove yourself from your work environment, and just have some fresh air. That's what I like to do.
And then sometimes I'll be on TikTok for an hour.
Yeah, and we've got some other people in the comments that are on TikTok. Like we are both like fully in, like it's a problem.
But I love Animal Crossing here as well. So Jodie has Animal Crossing in there. We're both big into Animal Crossing, and listening to music and Spotify. I love making Spotify playlists too.
I love that.
Right, sorry, Merlin. I just wanted to know.
No,
I was being nosy. I just wanted to know how people relax.
It's good to remind ourselves of those things that make us feel nice, that make us feel de-stressed. And remember that you don't feel guilty when you're doing those, when, you know, in the middle of revising. Like sometimes you need that. Sometimes your brain is telling you to have that break. Okay. And these pods might help you out. Okay, so if you go to your homepage, I've just pressed show more, and then I went to keeping fit and healthy. And then we've got body, mind, and environment, and then we've got team you as well. So these three here, we're going over like keeping mindful. So mindfulness, managing our thoughts, choosing our mood, training your attention, visualization. If in the environment one, goal setting, which I know we've gone over, setting good habits, clutter. Now that is a problem that I have. So I cannot focus if the office or room that I'm in is messy. So I find myself getting up and tidying up before I can even start. But these pods are that music is so loud.
It's like, it's just the start of it. It's just like
vibing.
vibing.
But with these, like they're just gonna give you some guidance and advice. And it's also going to tell you about the science behind stress and the science behind, you know, feeling good and feeling mindful when it all gets too much. Okay. So I would recommend, you know, spending a little bit of time, you know, obviously not burning yourself out by looking at these, but just see if any of these work for you, if any of these help you out and feel a little bit less stressed out. And just before we finish, because we are pretty much near the end of this webinar.
Bernadette's comment in there is probably one of the best things I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my God, that is, I want that as a motivation.
Clear my bed, turn up the AC, lay down flat, think of the sky and think I'm awesome. Bit of self-love motivation. We love that. I'm
going to put that up on a poster in the office. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, Bernadette, we see you.
Absolutely love it.
Love it.
So we've all talked about these things that we do to feel relaxed and to help us out. So what would we do in a situation where you are overwhelmed, you've got all these thoughts in your head and you need to ground yourself? Well, we can do these things called grounding techniques. And what these basically are is they are self-soothing, self-care techniques, self-love techniques, which allow you to get out of your head for a second, to get out of that midst of like chaotic thought and return to the present and forget about busy thoughts and clear out your mind. Okay. So I want you all to do, you can do this right now if you want to, you don't have to, but I think it's something good for you to remember. Maybe take a picture of the guide. But what you can do in those situations where you feel overwhelmed is name 5 things you can see. Okay, so look around you. So I can see a fan, I can see my laptop, I can see a building outside, I can see a whiteboard. List 5 things you can see. Okay,
I forgot you were in the office for a second.
Like your house is weird, Merlin. So list 5 things you can see, then 4 things you can feel. So I can feel the table underneath my arms, I can feel the breeze from the window. List 4 of those things. Then 3 things you can hear. Okay, so I can hear the hum of my laptop, I can hear the traffic outside, I can hear other people in the office having a chit chat. Okay, list 3 things you can hear. Then 2 things you can smell, if possible. So I can smell my energy drink I had earlier. Okay, I can't really smell anything else, not since the old COVID got me. But if you can, list 2 things you can smell, and then 1 thing you can taste as well. So you might have just had a sip of tea, you can still taste it. Now, what do we think this is doing? It's grounding you physically. It's taking you out of your thoughts and bringing you right here into the present world. It may seem a bit strange and a bit funny, but it's ultimately like a distraction. It's a stress distraction. Okay.
I felt quite nice after that, actually.
Yeah. Oh,
just aware of my surroundings, aware of what I have to do.
Yeah, exactly.
In my surroundings. It is quite nice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not necessarily going to, you know, take the problems away, but it just gives you that second to step away from it and look with a bit of perspective and just to be there more physically. So I would say that is something that you can try, something you can try when it gets too much, but there are other step-by-step practical guides on how to be more mindful and meditate and stuff on those wellbeing pods. So give them a go.
I would love to ask everyone while we're sitting here from our webinar today, because we've gone through some things that you can start to put in place now for next year, for year 11, which is the big scary GCSE year. Do you feel better about it, or do you feel like you're ready to put things in place and create a plan to go into that year?
Oh, Zoe said way better.
Oh,
Fantastic.
that's great. Because
Thank you.
we just want you to feel confident in yourself and to feel that you've got a plan and you've got a sidekick really with GCSEPod to help you there as well.
Definitely.
And I sometimes found when I was a student and I went to things like this, the motivation can really send you on, you know, a really good path. I'm sounding very spiritual now. I've got my crystals on. You're on the right path. No, you've made completely the step in the right direction here by coming to this webinar in your own time, listening to us talk about, you know, getting ready for that next year. You should really be all very proud of yourselves for doing that, because you have gone, you've taken a step in the right direction and you're going to absolutely smash your GCSEs in year 11.
Definitely. So all we can say now is thank you. Like, thanks for coming, taking the time. And yeah, again, what Katie said, just congratulations. We do hope that it's made you feel that little bit more prepared, that you've got a bit of a toolkit moving forward. But yeah, that is the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for coming. And when you leave the webinar, a little survey should come up. It's literally 3 questions. Just let us know what you thought. If you've got any big ideas, anything that you want us to cover. But yeah, we're so glad you enjoyed it.
Anything you ever do, you know, if you ever use the study, the learning activities, if you ever use Track and Challenge in a certain way, if you're using GCSEPod and you want us to know, you tag us on Instagram, tag us anywhere. We're totally happy and really want to see those things.
Definitely.
Because Merlin and I are very passionate about making you feel good, making you feel confident for your exams. So anything that you do, send it in to us. We're more than happy to have a look. Actually, I shed a tear sometimes, so emotional. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming and your time.